What's up guys, I'm PawsBuild, and in this series we're going to be building a beautiful medieval village in the early access release of the game Manor Lords, whilst also fending off merciless hordes of bandits and raiders. This series has started following the huge update that the devs have already made to the game, so I can't wait to dive in and I hope you enjoy. So let's start a new game. Now, we first need to choose a name for our ruler, which is us. So obviously, this is going to be Paws. And then we can pick a portrait. I'm happy with this one, actually, that it's already got. We can choose from any of these, but I like this. Let's keep this one. And then we need to pick a coat of arms for our family. And this has so much customization. It's amazing. You can choose like a general design. So let's say we had this one. We now have two fields that we can edit separately. And we can just choose different patterns. We can put symbols on them. We can pick completely different colors. Like, there's so much customization. You can imagine if you get to something like this, that's pretty crazy. I think we want something simple though. So let's just have a pretty plain shield. Let's have it green, a yellow color, like a yellow symbol on it, and maybe an animal. What have we got here? I like this horse. We've also got a pig. That's quite cool. Maybe we should go for that. Or, there's this. Oh, let's go for the cow. Let's go for that one. Okay, so we're going to go with this. That's our coat of arms. And then there are 3 game modes we can play in at the minute. There are actually more on the way, as this game is still in early access, so there's still a lot of content coming to the game. The Rise to Prosperity game mode is essentially like a more relaxed city building one. You're not going to have anyone raiding you. It's just about building the town how you want and surviving. Then we've got Restoring the Peace, which is almost like a story version of the game, where there's an evil baron who lives outside of the map that's trying to take over all the territory, and you're winning it back for the people. And then there is On the Edge, which is what we're going to play, where we're building a town and trying to survive, but also we're going to be attacked by raiders, so we have to defend ourselves, which I think will be very fun. And as well as picking one of these, you can choose a template difficulty and then go in and change whatever settings you want in here, which I think is very cool. One of the new ones they've added in the latest update is the King's Tax. So this is going to be interesting. It kind of stops you from hoarding wealth. You have to pay a certain amount of tax to the king who rules the actual kingdom you're in, which I think will be cool. So let's dive in. Here's our little town. It's a bit sad right now. It's just a few people, an ox called Herman, and some tents. We've got a message too. Victory condition, growth. Where others see trouble, you see potential. These lands shall become rich and prosperous under your skillful management. Yes, they will. We need to reach the large town settlement to get victory. Prosperity awaits. Essentially, we just need to grow our town to be a large town, and that's how we'll win the game. If we can survive that long as well. I'm going to hit pause because I want to zoom out and have a look at where we are. So you can see if I zoom out, there's a red border around this area of the map, and this is the region that we own. This is our region. So everything the red boundary touches is our kingdom. And if we zoom further out, there's a much bigger map you can see here. And this is how the map in Manor Lords works, is it's divided into regions, and you can claim more regions as you go on. But at the minute, we've only got this one region that we started off with. And so the first thing we need to do is choose where to settle our town. Now, there are a number of factors that go into this, and the first one you can see are these resource nodes. We've got a number of them. There's 2 food ones, which are wild animals and berries. And then there are 3 construction related ones, which are stone deposits, clay deposits, and iron deposits. And you can see that 2 of them have a crown on them. This is really good. So each region has at least one with a crown on it. And what it means is that that is a rich deposit. So it doubles the amount of resources that would normally be there. So you can see our wild animals, we have 40. You would normally only have 20. So this is really good. We're definitely going to want to be using these rich deposits as much as we can. So we're going to want to make sure we put our town and some of the relevant buildings close by to these resources so that our villagers don't have to walk too far to get to anything. And the other major thing you want to look at is the overlays. So if you go into the construction tab, you can see the overlays on the right. The first one of these is underground water. And we've actually got quite a lot of underground water on this map, which is good. In Manor Lords, you can only place wells on underground water, and you need wells for fresh drinking water and also to put out fires. So it's obviously a very important thing for your town. So we need to make sure there is underground water wherever we settle. And the other major consideration is the fertility of the ground. So let's have a look at our Emma fertility. Ooh, okay, we've got some green here. This is the fertility which we can grow wheat on. So wherever it's green is an ideal location for a wheat farm. Like this would be really good over here. And we've got some very fertile land here, although it is underneath this road, which isn't as ideal. And then we've got, oh, there's quite a lot of green over here too. Maybe this is a better area. We just need to be careful it's not too close to our woods down here. And the other fertilities we need to look at are flax, which is for growing flax to make clothes. And there's not much of that we're going to be doing. There's barley, I don't think we'll be growing much of that either, and rye, which is kind of, in this game, it's kind of like a more resilient version of wheat. So you can see over here, where the Emma has light green and some dark green fertility, the rye is basically all dark green here, because it's an easier crop to grow. So normally I would suggest that you don't settle the town on any green areas because you might want to use them for farming. However, this area here is quite well located between the deposits, and it's close by to this green area and this one for farmings, and it's quite central. I think this might be a decent area to set up our town and have reasonable access to everything, because you don't want to be too far away from anything either. Our town currently is here. This is where all our people are, but this is completely temporary. Like these homeless people's tents will disappear as soon as we start building houses and get them into homes. So we really need to pick a location they're going to be permanently situated in. And I think that this is a pretty decent one here. And the last consideration of this area is that there is plenty of underground water here, which is definitely a good thing. So let's whack a road in. Let's continue this road down here and put a main road through our town. Let's have it be something like that. Now, roads in this game build instantly because they're just like dirt tracks basically, but they do improve the movement speed of your villagers and of your ox, crucially. And at the minute, we've got Hermit. Look at his little face. If we hit play, we can see him just chilling out. He is gonna be the MVP for our team right now because he is the only one strong enough to pull these logs that we have here. And these logs are the building blocks of all of the essential buildings. Oh, look at him getting some belly rubs. Look at him. He's so cute. So the first thing I want to do is actually connect up all of these areas over here to the town area we're building. So just building like a little roundabout around Herman. And then I'm just going to connect up this whole area to the town we want to build. So there is a quick way through the forest to get here, which they can all take. Even though it's a bit dense, they will be able to walk through that. And this is something else I love, is that if you zoom out, you can see we built these roads. They're on the map now. So you can see your town expand as we go, which I just think is really cool from like a town planning perspective. The next thing we want to do is build our first buildings and get everyone into homes. So the first building I want to build is the logging camp, and this is going to cost 2 timber. You can see at the minute we already have 8 timber, which are these logs here. And this is going to produce more timber for us, but it is going to cut down trees. So the main consideration is you don't want to put it over here where we have our wild animal node, because if we do, the animals will migrate because there won't be any forest there, and it's useful having them here actually for us, and we don't know where they'd migrate to. You can actually see as well, I love it. If you zoom in, you can actually see the animals. Look how many deer we have. This is such a crazy amount of deer. I love it. I think we want to put the logging camp temporarily over here where we want our town to be, and it can start cutting down some of these trees that we're going to build over anyway at some point. So it will tell you if you overlap trees, it will uproot them for construction, which we don't want. So let's just build the logging camp here. And then it's not too far away from where we are. They can start building that. The other 2 buildings that I want to get up and running are our store buildings, because you can see here we have 20 foods. We've got 20 bread, you can see in this list, which are in the baskets here. And we also have 20 firewood, which is here. And the reason I want to get the bread and the firewood into storage buildings as soon as possible is that it is currently spring. And if we look here, spring it's very common to have frequent rain. So I do not want it to rain and ruin all of these materials for us and all of this food. I don't think that stone is vulnerable to rain. It would be a bit odd if it were. So we've got 20 stone here too. But crucially, I want to get the firewood and the bread out of the open so that it's not ruined by the rain. So let's build. Our storage buildings are in the logistics tab. The first one is the granary. Let's build this. And we want this to be kind of centrally located for where our food is going to be collected. I think it wouldn't be the worst idea to have it on this road here, because we're going to be gathering food from this animal node here and the berries over here. And I believe when we looked at our fertility, yeah, our farm's going to be down here and over here. So we may need to build more granaries, but I don't think that's too far for them to walk if we build it slightly closer to the animal tile over here. We could even put it on this little road here. I think I'll do that, the road that comes off the main road. Let's have our granary building there. And let's also connect it up so it's a bit easier to get to from our current town. I don't want to overlap the animal area here. I'm just going to put a road in like that. And we can always delete these roads in the future for free as well. So I'll let them start building. I'll hit play. And then I want to position the storehouse, which is going to store the firewood and other goods like that. I want to put that kind of centrally in the town, because everything we collect in here, we're going to want to sell in a marketplace, and the marketplace should be centrally located in your town. So let's have the storehouse. Let's have it right here. I think this is a good place. Put the storehouse right here. That's pretty central to where our town's going to be, and we can always build the market around it. Oh, and we've just got a new message. Raiders are near. We've received reports of a band of raiders roaming the nearby lands. Should we track their steps? Absolutely. I want to know when they're coming. Okay, 300. We've got 1 year until the raiders attack, so we need to get ready. I'm going to put it on ×4 speed, and we can let our villagers start building. You can see them all walking over to the logging camp, which I think they're building first. And we've got Herman is dragging 1 timber for us. So it is going to take a little while to get everything up and running. So I'm going to leave it on the ×4 speed. But look at him, he's dragging it over. And then these are the other workers. They're going to start building the building. And one thing I absolutely love about Manor Lords is that all the buildings are built in this kind of modular way where as you build each section of the building, it gradually, you can see the progress of the construction, rather than it just being like a percentage where when it gets to 100, poof, there's a building there. You can see it gradually being built. So you can see they gradually just built this campfire, and now the campfire is working and it's up, and we clearly have one more building, I think, that's going to go over here because it's about half built, and this looks pretty done. But they do this for all of the buildings, which I think is so interesting. You can see our granary going up here. So we've got the foundations in there. They're building like another story in here, which I believe is because we're going to have elevated storage for the food. But it's just such a nice added bonus, I think. You just wouldn't expect something like this. I just think it's really cool that they've added it in. Because loads of this stuff, like all this stuff they're building here, is going to be inside the building when the building's complete. So you're not even going to see it. So many games would just have that be completely hidden and it would just be the outer shell of a building. But they've actually shown us what the inside of the building looks like, even though we're not going to see it when the building's complete. Which I just think is really cool. I'm a big fan of that. It's a lot of attention to detail that I can get behind. Look at this. The building and the floor and here. Yeah, this whole inside of the building that we're not going to see. Oh, yeah, I just think it's really cool. We've also got the day and night cycle turned on, which I can turn off. Let me know in the comments whether you want it turned on or off. I quite like seeing the town at all times, but if it becomes too dark at any point, let me know. We could always just have it be daytime constantly. Oh, we're building the storehouse as well. So they're building all of these buildings at pretty much the same time. And the reason they're doing this is that none of them have any priority over the others. So we could, if we went into, have a look at the storehouse here, if we click on the storehouse, we can set a construction priority. We could put this up to be high, and they'll prioritize building this first, or even very high, or the highest. Subsequently, we could also put it on low, but then they will prioritize building based on the priority that you've set for the building. So at the minute, they're all on medium. We need all of these at about the same time anyway, so I don't mind which one they build first, but that's why they're building them all at the same time. You can also see, this is why I like the day and night cyclers. They've got a beautiful little campfire here. Like, this game is so pretty, I think. I'm a big fan. Look at that, the stars. Oh, I just think it's really cool. They finished the logging camp now. That's brilliant. So now it's built, we can assign a family to work at the logging camp. And I'm going to do that. And what they'll do is they will cut down the surrounding trees and gather timber from it. We can also, if we really don't want them to cut down every tree around, we can go into the advanced tab and limit their work area to a certain place. Like, oh, just cut the trees down from here, and they won't cut anything else down, and they'll tell you when they've cut all the trees down in this area so you can move it. But for now, I think we'll clear the work area and let them work whatever's closer. They can do that. I'm also going to put a family to work at the storehouse, and they can gather up all of the supplies we have. I put it on normal speed now, and I don't think they've finished the granary, so we'll leave them building that. But I've been talking about assigning families to these buildings. I want to just explain how the workers work in Manor Lords. So you can see in the top left, we have 10 population in our village, which is 5 level 1 families. And you can see we have 8 males and 2 females. That's what those symbols mean. In a lot of games, you'll assign individual people to a job, but in Manor Lords, you assign a family. If we look at the logging camp, for instance, and click on people, you can see we have Tommen, who's a husband, and Nickel, who's a son. So we've got a father and son combo, are both working in the logging camp. In the storehouse, we've got a husband and a wife. So Linhart and Gerhorst. I don't know if I'm pronouncing their names correctly, but they are both working in the storehouse. So, and they're gathering currently, so they are hopefully going to go pick up all of our firewood and store it in here. And this will work interesting in the future. So if we've got a market that the storehouse is supplying with firewood, it may be that one of these two is going and collecting the firewood from the firewood cutter, while the other one is selling the firewood in the market stall. But they're both assigned to the storehouse. Like, that's their actual overall job. It's just they do the individual jobs under that role however they need to, which I just think is a really cool system as well. It's quite unique. I don't think I've seen that before in games, but I do think it's a good way of running them. And anyone unassigned, like little Peter here, is going to be working on construction. So now we've assigned 2 families. We've got 2 assigned families up here. It means they've got full-time jobs. Any unassigned families will work on construction jobs, and they will also guide the ox, Herman, to transport timber. So, which is also used in construction, so it's quite useful to have. You want at least one family to be unassigned, really, and you need it if you're going to be building anything. We've almost got those buildings up and running though, so I think it's probably a good time to set up a food gathering post also. At the minute, we've got 3 months of food, so we should probably get some more. And seeing as we have this massive deposit of deer, let's build ourselves a hunting camp nearby. Again, I don't want to put it in the hunting camp, but if I put it near the granary, this will massively reduce the walking distance for them to collect the meat when we've gathered it. So let's set the hunting post back a little bit so it's not directly on the road. Let's have it be about here and have its own little road to the King's Road here. I'm calling them the King's Road. Basically, I can't delete these roads because they're owned by the king. The main like travel routes through the map you can't delete, but I could delete these little roads here. So I'm going to build that back and let them build this also. I'm going to set the granary to be high priority because I want them to finish that up so we can store our bread securely. I'm a little nervous about that. And then I think, since we've got our storehouse up and running, it's probably worth building the market that's going to feed it. Oh, they've already finished the hunting camp. Perfect. Let's not assign it just yet because we still have some food. I just want to get it ready. They must have built that very quickly. It must be a very low-cost building. And it looks like Herman's delivering the second log for the granary. So that'll be done very soon also. And we can set someone to work on that. While they do that, let's build out the marketplace, which is going to be the central beating heart of our town. And the marketplace is an interesting building because it's not like the other buildings we've built so far, like the logging camp where it's a single building, or the hunting camp where it's like a single building that you place. The marketplace, you designate an area for. So you select 4 points on the map. Let's say we select 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here. And you can see there are now 56 market store locations. So if we click build, this just sets out an area for the marketplace. And as people have goods that they want to sell in the village, they'll create their own little market stores and sell them within this area, which is really cool. Like, I like that as a concept. Rather than just building one big marketplace building, you designate an area for it and you let them build it organically. Now, it looks like we're almost done with our granary. So if we go for ×4 speed, yeah, there we go. That's done very quickly. I'm going to assign one family to work at the granary and start gathering food up. And hopefully we've got a bit more timber. We've got 6 timber. We're going to need a bit of food too. Let's assign one family to the hunting camp now. And then we can assign one family to the logging camp because I want to get a bit more timber. Now, it's giving us a warning that we don't have any available unassigned families to guide the ox. That's absolutely fine. I want to tell you one thing about the hunting camp that I also think is really cool, is that you set a hunting limit on the animals. So if you put the hunting limit as 0, the hunters will just hunt this resource node to extinction and all the deer will be gone. But if you set a hunting limit of, let's say, 10 or even 15 deer, they will stop when the herd size gets to that number. So at the minute it's 39 deer out of 40. If we set it as 15, they'll stop when it's 15 and let the deer breed back up, and then they'll start hunting again. So they won't ever hunt them below 15, which I think is a really cool feature that you can stop them. You could always then just unassign a family and let the deer breed back up to 40, and then you could assign them again and hunt them down to 15 again. So you can keep your like wild populations in check without over exploiting them, which is a really cool concept. Oh, also we've got a firewood store, perfect. So now it may be that they're transporting and gathering, but at some point one of them will start working on the stall while the other one is gathering goods. At the minute they just have so many goods to gather, and you can see it is now raining, so I'm very glad that they are doing that. Definitely good. We're getting a lot of warnings about exposed goods up here, so we do want to get these away as soon as possible. But our granary workers will be transporting as well. Yeah, there we go. They're coming in. They're just going to load the bread up onto their wagons and then cart it off to be stored in the granary. Let's have a look at them load some. There we go. That's one. This game is so cool. The attention to detail on this, I just think is brilliant. Got 3. That's probably too much. Yeah, that's probably enough for you. And then you're off carrying. Who's this? Jacob or Jacob? He looks like a strong lad. You can carry it. 3 baskets of bread. And he'll wheel it back to the granary. Very cool. The last thing, which is why I wanted to get enough timber, is we want to build everyone housing. And each house is going to cost us 2 timber. So there are 5 families. I wanted to have 10 timber at least. So I'm just going to give the logging camp a little bit more time to get the timber available. If we fast forward, they'll probably get it quite swiftly. And then we can start building the houses and get all of these guys out of those ugly tents and into proper housing. Oh, we've also got a food stall now. So this has probably been set up by the granary workers to sell bread at. Yep, you can see if they have a little market icon next to the family, that's when they've set up a market stall. So it looks like they've done a good job there in setting that up. And we have 10 timber. So I'm going to now unassign the 2 families working at the logging camp, so they're available for construction, and let's build our first houses. Now, I want to be mindful of where the water is. It looks like we can build a well pretty much anywhere, so it's probably a good idea to have one centrally located, and then we could maybe have some others elsewhere where we need them. But this round here looks like a good area for our housing. Much like the marketplace, to build houses, you designate plots like this. So the first 2 points that you designate are gonna direct the building. So we've put them there, so they're gonna be facing the road. And then you can see, if we drag this out to build 4, we can build 4 housing plots right here. I think this is probably a good area for them. And what these symbols mean, so the front symbols that look like houses are where the actual house will go. That tells you that one family can live in each of those houses. And then we've got these hammer and shed icons at the back. That is space for a workshop, which essentially is a specialized area. As we develop in the game, you can put different things in these areas and specialize your villagers into do different crafts. But it could be that they have a chicken coop in their back garden, could be they're growing vegetables, or it could be that they are the local bootmaker and that's where they do it, or the local brewer for the tavern and they brew ale in their back garden. So I'm going to place that in, which is going to cost 10 timber, and build. And then we've got 2 families unassigned, so they're going to go in and start building these houses. And we can probably do a little time lapse as we watch these go up, which I think will be quite cool to see. There we go. We have finally built all 5 houses, which means our families have moved in, and we've leveled up our settlement. So we've got a new message. Let's read the message. Armament delivery. A strong militia is paramount to the survival of any settlement, especially us who's going to get attacked by raiders. Luckily, a shipment of weapons has just arrived, and you will now be able to create your first militia banners to serve you and protect your people. However, we will need more weapons to equip all of the people as the settlement grows, either by making them or importing them from other lands. Let's form the militia. Brilliant. Okay, we're going to probably deal with the militia and getting weapons in the next video. I don't think we need to do that straight away, but it is good to have that shipment of military arms. So you can see if we hover over the military tab, we've got 20 large shields and 20 spears. So we could arm ourselves. I mean, at the minute, we've only got 14 people, including children, so I don't think we quite have the military prowess that we need to fend off these raiders, but we've still got just under 300 days to do that. If we set our workers back on the logging camp, we can get a bit more timber, and then it's probably a good idea to expand, build another house in here, get our well running as well. That would probably be a good next step, and then everyone can kind of have the basic needs being met. I think everything, so the tent over here is gone now because we've built the housing, and I want to move this hitching post over to our town. I think it's probably for now a good idea to just put this, let's just put this in this space here. It's got access to both of these roads. Oh, actually, we're going to get rid of this road, aren't we? Let's delete these roads now that we don't need them. And we can delete these as well. And then let's move the hitching post into our town. It could probably just go next to our storehouse for now. We can find a better place for it in the future if we want, but I think that's a good place for the hitching post. And I'm actually going to unassign one of our families from the logging camp so they can build this as a very high priority, because we want to have a home for little Herman, don't we? We don't want him to be out in the cold on his own. I would like to get more ox as we go as well. You can buy more oxen for your village, which is obviously great, but it does cost money. And ideally, we'd have families available to guide them, because it is a dedicated job just to guide Herman around. And we don't really have the numbers at the minute, so we need more houses to get more villagers, and then we can start assigning families to guide little Herman. Right, they've built the new hitching post, so someone is going to go grab Herman and bring him over. He'll be assigned here now. You can see it's 1 of 1. If we upgrade the stable, it'll have a little roof, which I think is nice, because it's at the minute it's just a hitching post. I want it to be a stable for him. At that point, we can get another ox in here as well, or you can get a horse if you want. But we want another ox, I think, to help with the logistics of the village, because they've got the strong the stronger timber pulling genes. And you can see now we're in May, we're starting to use our firewood. So we're going to need a woodcutter's lodge. Now, I think this is probably, let's put them over here. I'd like most of our construction. I don't want it to be too close to our berries, actually. Maybe it should go over here somewhere. The woodcutter's lodge works very much like the logging camp, that they will cut down trees to use for firewood instead of timber. So let's put them here. It's not too far from the village to get in. I also didn't think it'd be super fun to have a woodcutter's lodge right next door where they're chopping wood. It'd probably drive you mad listening to that all day. But they're out there now, so it's got a little bit of distance. There's some trees between to dampen the noise. Oh, poor villagers. And we've got 4 timber, so let's put the woodcutter's lodge on high priority. And then let's set out another housing plot so we can get another house in here. And this is, you can really see how creative you can get with the housing spaces. That this is a really odd shape, and it's made this really interesting plot size that we can now build. You can get some really cool stuff. I've seen people do some amazing designs and using the natural roads and everything they have to create some really interesting plot sizes for their houses. I think it's really cool as well. And maybe it's a slight bias from growing up in the UK, but a lot of the towns in the UK are built around key resources that used to be there. So let's say you had like a coal mine, or it could be something that there was an old well there originally, but they've built around all of these buildings, and you have these really interesting roads that go in loop-de-loops, and then all the houses are kind of built around that to try and manage it, rather than everything being laid out in a perfect grid. So I like the idea that excluding our initial starting point, we can just leave all of the roads in that we build and try and build our houses and everything around the village as it grows, rather than planning it out meticulously. It can just be this kind of organic shape that evolves as we go. Because I think that tells a nice little story of our village too. And speaking of our village, we haven't named our village. Let's go in and rename, what's it going to be? It is currently a village, but it's going to be a big town, isn't it? So let's call it Pawstown. There we go. We know who owns this one. Pawstown has now been founded with our 5 houses, 6 on the way. Hopefully we can get some more villagers in here very soon also. Looks like they're making good progress on this house as well. Let's just watch them complete this. Oh wow, it was very quick. Okay, we've got the 6th house, which now means that we have capacity for more people to join the village, which is brilliant. I'm very happy about that. However, people will only join if we get our approval above 50%. And you can see at the minute, we're getting a little bit of a penalty from the previous month that there was homelessness because we didn't have our houses. But now we've got some market food variety because we've got more than one type of food. If you look, we've still got 3 bread left and we've got 31 meats. So we've got a lot of food. We've got 8 months of food. Wow, okay. 8 months of food. If we assign our final family now to our woodcutter's lodge, I think that'll deal with the fuel issue. And then we can just let someone join as our approval rises up. And we're still getting some timber from the woodcutting lodge. There are a couple more buildings I'd like to build actually. So I'm going to take the family off of the logging camp and build ourselves a well, because this is obviously another very important building for the town. Let's add this in here. So still a very central location. In the future, we could add some wells. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea actually to put some wells around our other, like the granary is a pretty key place, isn't it? If that caught fire, we definitely want water nearby. So let's have another well there. And that's probably okay for now. We've got a couple of wells. We'll let the construction families build these up. And then everyone should have access to clean drinking water. Okay, we've got both of our wells up and running. So if we click on one of our houses now, yes, you can see they have water access. That need is being met. Perfect. The last building I would like to build in the essentials, as I would call them, is to build the tannery, which is going to turn the hides we get from our hunting camp into leather. So I'm going to put this right next door to the hunting camp, because that is where it's going to get its supplies from. And when we're producing leather, we're going to be able to meet the need of clothing. Because if we click on one of our houses here, you can see these are all its basic needs. So it has amenities needs and market supply needs. At the minute, we're not meeting the church. We don't have a church in the village yet, but we do have clean water and the market supply. We're actually meeting both like 2 types of food, which is perfect for this house here. But we're not meeting the clothing store supply. So we need to give them either linen, which you get from flax, leather, which you get from hides, or yarn, which you get from sheep. Seeing as we're already hunting deer for hides, it makes a lot of sense to get the tannery. And the other reason I'd want to put the tannery all the way out here away from our village is, if you know anything about tanneries, you do not want to live next to one. I'll let this build up, and we can probably explain why when it's built. There we go. We finished the tannery. Now, these water buckets that you can see here, that's not water. So how this used to work was the local tanner would go round to someone's house and they would pay for their urine. So all the local villagers would pee into pots, and then they would be able to sell it to the tanner, and they would then use these bowls of urine to tan the leather in. And this is actually where the phrase "hasn't got a pot to pee in" comes from, because if you were so poor that you couldn't afford to have a pot that you could sell for free money, you know, because you're not really using your urine, if you couldn't even afford a pot for that, you were considered to be very poor. So you'd be so poor you don't even have a pot to pee in. Which I think some of these phrases are really interesting how they come about. But hopefully everyone in our town does have a pot to pee in, and we can get some leather being made. So let's now assign a tanner to start working here, and we can start getting clothing being made in our village. But I think our town is looking really cute now. We've set up all the essentials, and hopefully we'll be attracting some new residents very soon. In the next video, we can look at doing some trade and maybe even defend ourselves from the raiders if they attack. But I think that's going to be everything for this video. If you've liked the video, please give it a like. It really helps the channel out, and I'll see you in the next one.